Keep your prayers up for me, 'cause you broke my heart. God knows I'm trying, but you make it hard. I'm praying through it, just give me a chance. Don't break my heart, just give me a chance to show you my love.
So to start off this loop, we start off with a F sharp minor ninth, and we're in the scale of E major. So this is the first chord right here. It goes into a walk up that's a G sharp. And the only thing, so this is how you would play a regular G sharp. But the only thing that we're doing here is we're taking this A sharp, which is not in the scale, and we're using it as a grace note. So we're not playing it the whole time like this. Instead, we're just kind of flickering it. Instead, we're just playing the A sharp super fast. So we're playing it like this. And then it continues to go up with another A sharp. And then it goes into a G sharp, but this time I'm playing a C at the bottom. And then finally, it resolves. And then towards the end, we do a walk down with a flat 5. And then it goes into a E major. And then finally, our last chord is another E major chord. Alright, so now we're going to go inside of FL and I'm going to show you how the project looks and you can see how the MIDI looks also. So looking at this MIDI, it looks a little bit complicated and intimidating, but it's really straightforward. The only difference is we have those little stabs going on, and I think this is super important in order to add movement, especially when it comes to the intro. And you're also going to see how important it is to have a grace note, especially when you're doing these gospel-like chord progressions. So the piano I decided to go with is this Wing Upright, the Mono Dark preset, and I'm also layering it with another piano from Contact, and I'm using the Spitfire felt piano. So then the next step was to come up with the same chord progression. This time we're taking out the stabs and we're keeping the passing notes because I felt like it played a major role. It just made it easier to be able to have a pad without sounding super busy. And the only thing that I'm using on the piano is this tape Mellow 5 from Arteria, and I feel like that played a crucial role in order to make it sound a little bit more vintage. The next step was to simplify the MIDI, and this time, as you can see, we don't have the stabs, and we wanted to make sure that we had that for the next section, which was going to be the simplified version, but also the section that had the heavy bass and where people would kind of put drums. So this is how that sounds. Once we had that, I ended up singing some lyrics and I just kind of put it in there. And I'm sure I still have an arrangement with my vocals and we ended up sending it to a singer and they were able to send it over, and we made sure that we had a lot of different takes in order to combine it. And one thing that you're going to notice about the sample is that there's not really a lot of instruments, and that's because it revolves heavily around the vocals. And I would show you how bad my takes are, but it is what it is. How the vocal idea really started is because of this walk up, and I had an idea that I would use this 4-word sentence in order to go with the chord progression. So I'm going to show you how that sounds. So that's the idea that initially started everything, and then I kind of just built around it and came up with some lyrics that kind of went. After doing that, we sent it to a singer and they were able to do a lot of different takes, and that's how it became this whole thing. So this is what we had once we got the vocals back.
Keep your prayers up for me, 'cause you broke my heart. God knows I'm trying.
And obviously, this is how it sounds after we chopped it up and kind of cleaned it up in order to fit this loop to be exactly what we wanted. The next part of this was to be able to make the intro a little bit more interesting, because if we kept it with just a piano for 16 bars, I'm sure that we wouldn't catch as many people's attention. So we needed to spice it up a little bit, but also not make it too full, so when it gets to this section right here, it can still be surprising. So the next step was to come up with this bass, and I'm using this bass from Trillion. The only thing that I have on there is just this EQ in order to take out a lot of the high end. And then my next step was to come up with some strings. So I grabbed this Spitfire Audio, the Hans Zimmer strings. If you know, you know I've been preaching the strings for a hot minute. So, and then we ended up trying to use some of the backing vocals in order to make it sound full, but also not too full. And then for the last 8 bars, I ended up putting some sound effect, which is just a chime, in order to make it sound a little bit prettier before it gets to this section right here. So the original idea was for this section to be acoustic sounds, and then when it led into this, it would be more of like synth type of sounds. So with everything, this is how the first part sounds.
Keep your prayers up for me, 'cause you broke my heart. God knows I'm trying, but you make it hard. I'm praying through it. Just give me a chance. Don't break my heart. Just give me a chance to show you my love.
The only effects that I have on the strings is just I have it mono, and I also have this reverb on there. And don't worry, I'm definitely going to do a full video on strings, because I feel like strings could be its own separate video, and there's a lot that goes into it, especially when it comes to different modulations and stuff like that, in order to kind of make it sound realistic, but I feel like you could never really get close to the real thing. So the first thing that I ended up adding is just this pad, and this pad right here is actually from Diva. I'm using the MK Sign piano, and the only effects that I have on there is just this flanger, and this is just a default preset. I'm also using a chorus, which is still the default preset. And then I've really been messing with this tape mellow-fi from Arteria. It just kind of makes your stuff sound a lot more vintage, and I kind of really like that sound at the moment. And then the other thing that I have is just this Pro Q3 in order to take out the highs and take out the lows. And then I also have this multi-band compressor in order to get rid of some of the frequencies. So then I ended up going to my Super Gemini, and I was able to grab both of these pads, and I kind of just wanted to test it out and see what I could get from it. And then for this bass, I'm actually layering 2 different basses together. So the first bass that I'm layering is this one from Trillion, and this is the Prophet 5 Unison bass. And I'm also using this Teenage Fever bass from the free Analog Lab bank that I showed you guys. And I have both of them on the same mixer preset. The only thing that I did really is just take out a lot of the high end, and that's pretty much it. So all together with the pads and the bass. This is how it sounds.
To show you my love.
So the next part was for me to just try to mess with the vocals, and that's exactly what I did. And I was able to get some really cool sounds with it. Kind of wanted to highlight some sections, but also not do too much at the same time. This is what I ended up coming up with. So one thing that you can notice about these vocals is that most of these vocals are inside of different mixers, and that's because I wanted to be able to get like kind of like a different sound for all of them and kind of make it sound like this big thing, and especially having some of them panning right, some of them panning left. So it was super important for me to do that. So one mixer preset that I use is this Fab Filter Reverb, and I'm using the bathroom preset. And then I also have this delay, and then I'm using this RX 950 for some of the vocals. And then I have another preset, which is just the reverb, this time without all of the effects. And then I have another mixer preset for the other set of the vocals, but this time I have a reverb, and as you can see, the mix is pretty high up. And then I'm using this pancake in order to kind of make it go left and right a little bit. Last but not least, I'm using the shaper box, and I'm using the volume one, and I have my mix at 71. And then I'm also using the panning again, just to make it go right and left. And as you can see, the mix is at 100. Being able to combine all of these different tricks and just really trying to get the vocals to sound busy but also empty at the same time is crucial for these types of samples. And as you can see, I do have some of them sped up twice as fast, and that's why I'm able to get certain types of effects. This is extremely time consuming, but being able to get it right and getting the right chops can make a big difference when making these types of samples. There's really no explanation that could really justify how I did it. It was just truly trial and error and time. Instead of focusing on making the most complicated melody, just try to work with what you have in order to be able to get something more unique. So instead of doing the same thing that you usually do, maybe spend more time on a specific thing and maybe make that part unique. And I think that's how you're going to be able to get more unique stuff. After I had the vocals down in the pads, my next part of this sample was to play on my Super Gemini because I really wanted to test it out. So I was able to get some really dope ear candy with it. And I know it doesn't sound super crazy, but just having that little texture with my delay pedal, I think it kind of sauced it up a little bit. So then for the last section, we brought back the piano. And this time, as you can see, we took out some of the vocals and then brought back the bass one more time. I know this looks super complicated, but it's really not, because there's not a lot of different instruments. It's just sometimes you may need 5 instruments and be able to work with what you have. And that's exactly what we did. So as you can see, this really revolves around the vocals and it makes it sound dope. Now that we're in this new FLP, this is just the same loop. The first thing that I started off with is just a basic rim. And then I went in with the kicks. And one thing that I did that you can notice is I'm following the chord progression. So every time the chord kind of walks up, it has one kick that hits. So that's really it for the first section. Leading up to the second section, I ended up adding another sound, and that sound was just this open hat, and it just kind of gives it like a little accent. So nothing super crazy, just something very minimal, but I thought it would make a difference. I ended up adding a hi-hat, and this hi-hat is not super present, but it's just kind of like to fill some space and kind of like add a rhythm. So I thought that was super important. Keep in mind, I was trying to keep it as open as possible in order for someone to be able to rap on it. And as you could see, I'm doing the same thing that I did with the kicks, and I'm just following the pattern. And I also forgot to mention that for the rim section, I ended up taking out the rims right here in order to let the hi-hat and the kick breathe. So for the last section, as you can see, we don't have the bass anymore, so I just figured I might as well add an 808, and that's exactly what I did. So this is how it sounds for the last section. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the beat. Now I'm going to play you the final beat and comment down below what you think.